Philip Greer has used his diagnosis of type 2 diabetes as motivation to live a healthier life. He joins us tonight to share his experiences and what he's learned along the way. Before we get started, tell me in the comments where you're watching from and let us know if it's your first time joining us. Diabetes Primetime is brought to you by Relion Community, an amazing program available exclusively for Walmart customers with a Relion Premier meter. Get free diabetes tips, recipes, and support sent right to your phone. Just click the link in the comments to learn more. Philip, thank you so much for being here with us.
Absolutely. You're welcome. I'm excited.
So, I'd like to start out by having you tell us about when you were diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. How did that happen?
I was 15 years old and I had walked in to do a physical for wrestling. So I was really excited, going to join the wrestling team, and I got through my whole physical and everything was fine. As I got ready to leave the doctor's office with my dad, I won't forget, I walked through the lobby and I was almost to the front door, right? And I hear from behind me, Mr. Greer. I thought they were talking to my dad. So I kept walking and they're like, no, 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 Philip. And I turned around and they said, we have to do one more test. I said, okay. So I walked back through the lobby and I walked back into the doctor's office and they give me a finger stick, right? They just need to do a simple blood sugar test. And the doctor looked at the meter and his eyebrows went up and he said, ooh, I'll be right back, which is never a good sign. And when he came back, he let me know that I needed to go and see an endocrinologist. I went to an immediate endocrinologist appointment with my doctor, who I loved and I talked to up until about 5 years ago. But she was great, and she let me know what the ramifications would be, how to help get it under control, and start me on my medication. But as you can imagine, as a 15-year-old having to go back to high school the next day, I was incredibly shocked, and that started my journey.
So, you've had this traumatic experience of being diagnosed at 15. Did diabetes run in your family? Did your family kind of know what was going to happen next?
So diabetes did run in my family, and it existed in my extended family. So neither of my parents had it, but it did exist with their siblings. They knew that I needed to be on top of it and eat less sugar, but that's really all we knew about it. We didn't realize that the bread had an impact. We didn't realize that the amount of food, the timing of the food, where you're eating it, if you're eating out, any of those things would impact your blood sugar. So it was a complete learning experience from the beginning.
So, what was that learning experience like? Did you kind of just do it through trial and error? How were you learning?
We had a blood sugar monitor 4 times a day, finger sticks to see what happened. We were keeping some track of what was going on with the food that I ate and my spikes. And my doctor at the time, Dr. Muse, was great about making sure that the medications I was on were monitored, seeing her every 3 months, and then giving me recommendations. As far as education in a formal sense, that didn't exist for me at that time, nor was it really possible to go to. The internet was getting started, so you could research some things, but it didn't get looked at as a huge opportunity to learn everything you could about diabetes. So it was all through my doctor or through trial and error at home, and then really seeing what happened to my body over time. So how I felt, if I was getting up a bunch of times in the night, how much water I was drinking, all of those things. And because I got diagnosed at 15, I started lifeguarding at 14. And so there were some things that were taking place, whether it was I was drinking 3 gallons of water a day and I wasn't sure why. I was going to the bathroom all night long and I wasn't sure why. So once I started on the medications and I started to understand how diabetes impacted me, I could very clearly see the results. I got down to 1.5 gallons of water a day. I got down to not getting up in the middle of the night, all of those things. And then with being so young, it makes you curious about what is taking place in your body and how you're impacting your body. I was very fortunate because when I was 16, my girlfriend at the time, she and her family were super aware of how diabetes affects people because they had people in their family who had had very bad ramifications from not taking care of it. And they helped me get my diabetes under control and stay on track. So that was a big improvement for me when I met people who had knowledge. But before that, to your point, trial and error and just real live time monitoring and tracking were the things that I had access to.
But I also want to kind of presence that you're 15, 16 years old. You're a teenager. This was probably the last thing you wanted to be thinking about. Did you experience some denial?
All denial, all day, every day. You wake up in the morning and you just, you have that few seconds of clairvoyance when you wake up where you're getting into life. And before that day, everything when I would wake up was cool. I got to get downstairs so I can make my lunch. I got to get in the car with my brother and he's going to drive me to school. No problem. After that day, it was you wake up in the morning, you start to have those thoughts, then you realize no more Sour Patch Kids. You can't have bread. You can't go eating pasta. Everything that you want to do has to change. So you go into the denial phase. And if you're unlucky, you get stuck in that denial and it causes additional issues later in life. And that is the super, I think, important thing that I want to share or get everybody to realize is that denial plays out for the rest of your life. Every day that it happens, you have things that you're doing to your body that you don't even realize. So if you can stop that or avoid it, or we can normalize talking about it, lives will be improved, across the board. But yes, to answer your question, denial was a really big piece of what I was doing to myself.
So, did that feeling of denial and just not wanting to deal with diabetes, did that continue into your college years?
Absolutely. But I cost myself at that time in college. That denial and that fun partying or hitting the beer bong at the time was a really bad decision. If I were to take a silver lining out of it, it is that it taught me what I needed to do. It allowed me to see that I could make better decisions, and it allowed me not to feel as much shame about diabetes, which is a big piece of what people feel. The shame is so impactful on top of the denial, and they will compound and prevent you from taking care of yourself. So, yes, the denial was still present. College was great for me and also terrible for my body. And it cost me in the long run, but it's something that in the good news section isn't irreversible, right? I was able to get it under control. I was able to get back on track and make better choices, and I won't go back to that phase.
So many more questions for you, Philip, but we're going to pause here and do our trivia question. Folks, if you answer this question, you'll get a delicious collection of quick and easy lunch recipes created by our diabetes dietitian. And you'll get those recipes for free if you answer our trivia question, which is melatonin is a hormone that helps our bodies A, sleep, or B, digest. Does melatonin help our bodies A, sleep, or B, digest? Put your best guess in the comments, and you'll get that guide delivered to your Facebook Messenger inbox for free. And folks, if you can think of any friends or family members who might find this show helpful, please tag them in the comments so they can tune in too. So Philip, tell us about when things started changing for you. What made you decide you wanted to start doing things differently after college?
I decided when I got to my first job and I realized that I wanted to kind of normalize what I was dealing with and how I was acting. And I wanted to be, long term successful, that I needed to make some changes. Some people around me, an aunt had lost a few toes, and I knew it was related to diabetes. I knew that there were people who were having eyesight issues that was related to diabetes. And I realized there was something I needed to do. So I went back to the endocrinologist. But the real turning point was 2010, and I had something happening in my chest. And so you wouldn't think anything happening in your chest would be related to diabetes, right? It's a completely different area of the body. But as I learned, everything is truly connected. My doctor told me that I had a bruised diaphragm that I needed to just continue on and take some ibuprofen for. This happened starting in January. In July, I landed in the hospital. I had had walking pneumonia for roughly 4.5 months. I had it growing out of control because my blood sugar was so high that it was just allowing this bacteria to continue to grow inside of my lung. My family missed a cruise. The whole family did. I was in the hospital for almost 3 weeks. I was in a medically induced coma. I had to have my lungs treated, like breathing tubes, all of this crazy stuff because my diabetes allowed bacteria to grow out of control inside of my body. While that's a horrifying story, that's the ultimate wake up call, right? You have to really have some moments where you sit and you think about what that means for your future and how close you came to not having a future. And that's what I had to do. And that's when I really decided I can't do this anymore, right? I can't go into a doctor every 3 months and hope that they prescribe exactly what I need to be successful in my diabetes journey. I have to learn, educate, make sure that I'm talking to people, get other opinions, and really take control. Check your blood sugar, all of these things. I researched the medications that I wanted to be on. I went through and found better pricing. I switched insurances. I switched jobs, right? Sometimes jobs are so tied to your insurance that it makes more sense for your future to have a different job from a health perspective than just from a career perspective. So I did all of those things, and it allowed me to get into a better place with my medication. It allowed me to lose some weight. So there is kind of this roller coaster that goes through diabetes management. And if you get too discouraged at any one time, you'll fall off that coaster and you'll be in deep trouble. The thing that I want everybody to know is there's always hope on the other side, and there's always the ability to recover. Because if you're really focused on it and you're paying attention to what's happening, you can turn the corner. And I'm proof that that's possible.
Wow, Philip. So you really have had some ups and downs. But what I hear you saying is that after that hospital stay, you put your health at the center of your life. That became the most important thing to you. Would you say that's an accurate reflection?
100%.
So it sounds like finding the right medication regimen for you was really important to be able to like make some lifestyle changes and stick to them. What's happened since?
Oh my goodness. I mean, I have started to do outreach to people that I know locally. I've made sure that I have awareness for it. I've had children since then, and I am more cognizant of what I allow them to eat. It's insane the amount of things that once you get your diabetes to a place where you can manage it, you want to help other people see. So I've stuck with the putting myself first. When I interview for a new job or I talk about to somebody about a new job, I ask them what their coverages are. I ask what the insurance company is because I need to make sure that what I need to do for myself and allowing myself to be here long term is taken care of. So it is a part of everything that I do every day. It's a part of everything that I consider every day. And making it front and center makes it easier to be successful. Since that hospital stay, right, I've lost over 100 pounds. I've made drastic changes to what I consume, how I consume. I became a home chef. I do all of my own cooking. I make sure that everything that I put into my body within reason is as healthy as I can have it, because if you don't, then you get stuck in a spiral where you're just eating stuff that's super bad for you. Now, that's not to say that I don't ever go out to eat or I don't ever have cookies or I don't do things that we know aren't great for diabetes, but I do them in moderation. I have my days where I'm intentional about what I'm preparing and how I'm doing it. And it's just finding that balance that I've realized makes you successful. It allows you the opportunity to stay on your path.
So, one thing we've heard from so many people is that once we start making changes to what we're eating, our taste buds adjust pretty quickly. Was that your experience?
Yes. I mean, think about eating a bag of nacho cheesy chips. When you have the first five or some of those, you'll think this is delicious, this is great. But if you get all the way to the end of the bag, at a certain point, your tongue starts to feel a little bit numb. So you get over the sensation of that initial eating of those chips. And as you apply that to other pieces of your life, you remove some of the fast food from your life, you remove some of these quick hits, you remove some of the frozen pizzas, and you start to put in whole foods. Your body doesn't crave those as much. You don't go through the same like need to binge on these foods. And the other thing is, if you're like me, you start to realize that food is a crutch for what else is going on in your life. So if we go back to the denial phase, well, when I'm in denial, then I'm emotionally eating so that I feel better. But if I get my actual weight under control, I get my diabetes under control, then I want to go outside and do more things. Then I want to go and take up scuba diving, which I did, which replaces that need for me to binge eat or do this emotional eating and allows for me to have healthier options. And even though I still do crave things, my taste buds no longer require that I eat these large quantities of bad food that have been negatively impacting me. So, long answer, but yes, it absolutely changes what you want to consume and how you consume it.
So, what's your number one suggestion for someone who maybe is a little more in a denial phase, but wants to start re engaging with their diabetes care?
I would say the number one thing is to find somebody who can give you support. It doesn't have to be a doctor, it doesn't have to be a family member. There are plenty of like chats that you can go in, there are Facebook groups you can go to. You can even follow certain people on Instagram who will give you advice and knowledge. I have an Instagram similar to that. Like anywhere where you can find something positive that allows you to start. Because the hardest thing when you're in that denial phase is to look at somebody who's super successful and go, oh, I'll never be like them. And then you turn back to something you shouldn't be doing. Just find somebody who has a small piece of positivity to offer you and lets you know that it's okay where you're at. You can choose to make that change. Right. And I think that that is the biggest thing that I offer. Don't lose hope. Don't lose the ability to think that you can change or improve your life, because it's out there no matter where you are in your journey. You can have some kind of improvement. And just remember that you are not alone. There are millions of people who are going through something similar to you.
In case you're just joining us, we're here with Philip Greer talking about his journey with type 2 diabetes. And we're giving away a collection of quick and easy lunch recipes if you answer our trivia question, which is: melatonin is a hormone that helps our bodies A, sleep, or B, digest. Does melatonin help our bodies A, sleep, or B, digest? Put your best guess in the comments and you'll get that guide delivered to your Facebook Messenger inbox for free. Folks, we do this show every month and we want to make sure you never miss an episode. Text the word WATCH to 833-520-1246 and we'll send a short text message to you reminding you when we go live each month. Philip, what are the numbers that you're tracking on a regular basis? Like when you go to the doctor, what are the numbers in the blood work that you care about?
So I always check my A1C, obviously, that's a big one. I have a continuous glucose monitor that I use on a regular basis, so I check it every day. My microalbumin, if you don't know what that is, I would definitely encourage you to like check that out, because it has to do with your kidneys and how their function is, which is a huge piece of diabetes. And then I also like to check my eye functionality. So I have a very good doctor, Dr. Wynn, that I go to, and we go every 3 months, and she does these deep dives into my eyeballs to check for any leakages or spotting or anything that would indicate that my capillaries and blood vessels are starting to have issues. So those are the places that I pay attention to from a numbers perspective. And when you start to have almost like a real-time vision of what's happening inside your body, it makes it much easier to make the right decisions. So that's what I track when I go to the doctor now. And then I also track my weight on a regular basis. I would say once a month is a good time for me to make sure that I'm not going too high up or too far down. And something that I've realized about my weight, as it fluctuates, my blood sugars will fluctuate. So if I weigh less, my blood sugars will stay lower on a more consistent basis. Uh, that is something that I didn't even realize before. Like you can eat the same thing at a lower weight and it won't affect you the same. Me personally, it won't affect me the same as if I ate it at a higher weight. So, those are the things that are super impactful and important.
Philip, when you go to a doctor's appointment, how do you try to make the most out of that time? Like, do you bring a list of questions for your doctor? What are you thinking through ahead of time?
This is so important to me. When I used to go to the doctor, I would think, okay, I'm going to this doctor. They're going to tell me everything I need to know to be successful. But if you think about it, they're going to try and prescribe you a plan to follow for 3 months that's going to give you your best possible outcomes. So if you just walk in there blind, it's like going into a test. I got to take an AP bio test. I know a little bit about biology, but I don't know everything. But if I study, if I say, hey, at night when I eat, I notice that I'm having spikes in the middle of the night. I don't know what's causing it. Can you help me understand that? If I go in with what my actual blood sugar logs are, because I've been tracking them, if I go in with some foods that I know have spiked my blood sugar, and we talk about those, that's a great start. When you get beyond that, you say, here's where I took my medication, here's what it's doing, right? I've taken multiple GLP-1s over the course of my diabetes journey, and I know which one is the best for me because I track how my blood sugars have been. So when I go in and I say, hey, X GLP-1 didn't work as well as the one we tried 6 months ago, I'd like to go back. Then my doctor says, we can go back. I also have this one that's new. We can try this for 3 months and you can let me know. That's how you explore that there are other options, and every body is unique. My body is going to function differently based on the types of medications I'm ingesting than maybe whoever's watching this one is. But the important thing is You track what your medication is doing, you track what your food is doing, you go into your doctor's office and ask them questions, and they can give you better answers. That was the cool thing when I went into the doctor and I had a new endocrinologist, and she said, "Ooh, I can tell you really pay attention to what's going on and you take control of your diabetes." And I said, "Yeah, I had to, because you guys are seeing 30, 40 people a day and you're doing your best," right? Like, I think that all endocrinologists, they're there for a reason. They're super helpful and they're doing their best to help us. But if we do a little research before we walk in, if we know what our numbers are doing before we go in, they can do an even better job, which benefits you in the long term.
So you've had ups and downs on your journey. What would you want someone watching at home to know about why it's never too late to focus on our health?
I believe we get too far down the road in our minds. I will look at something and I'll say, "Oh, in 20 years, I might have already done enough damage to my body where it won't matter. So let me go and eat this piece of cake." And I want you to take that out and think about tomorrow. If I can think incrementally about what tomorrow is going to look like, and if I can get my blood sugar in the morning to be 10 points lower tomorrow, that's a win, because that will snowball into better behaviors and better habits. Don't look all the way down the road. I did that when I was 15 and I was like, "Oh, I just want to get to the next week because I might not make it 20 more years." I needed to think smaller. I needed to think in today's functionality. I needed to think into what I was putting into my body right now and just make tomorrow a better day. And that is what has led me to this point, right? My highest weight, 397 pounds. Okay. That was right before I got married to the love of my life. I didn't know if I was going to make it to 2020 because we got married in 2016. And I was afraid, right? I had fear. But I just said, let me stay on my path, go into the doctor, tell them this medication isn't working. Let me be more intentional about this piece of food that I'm eating. Just think of it in right now and getting through to tomorrow to make it better. Don't let 10 years down the road burden everything that's coming your way.
I love that suggestion to really kind of like take our focus more specific, because thinking way down the road in the future, thinking I'm going to have to do this forever, I think that becomes so overwhelming so quickly.
Yes.
So, what is the number one thing you wish everyone with diabetes knew?
You are not alone in what you're experiencing. Do not for a second think that there is no way you will get additional support from somebody else, because somebody else is going through, if not the exact same thing, something very similar. And then once you embrace that, it allows you to say, okay, it's not over, right? You can't ever give up that hope that you can improve your life, because that will power you forward. So just remember, you are not alone in what you're going through. While you may be a unique individual, your experience with diabetes, it has been replicated elsewhere. Somebody else has gone through it, and they have information or knowledge that can help you.
Ah, so inspiring. Philip, thank you so much for joining us tonight. This has been an amazing conversation.
Absolutely. You are welcome. Thank you for having me.
And a big thank you to everyone watching at home. We so appreciate you being here and chatting with us in the comments. Before we go, here's the answer to our trivia question. True or false, melatonin is a hormone that helps our bodies A, sleep, or B, digest? The answer is A, sleep. If you didn't get to answer the trivia question, but you'd still like those recipes, just leave a comment for us and tell us what you thought of the show. We will be back to you with a new episode in a few weeks. Until then, please stay safe and take good care. Good night.